Imagine a poorly disguised King Saul seeks the anonymous consult of the witches of Endor for an upcoming battle. The last magician and necromancer had mysteriously disappeared when their powers fell short. And then, as you can all know, soothsaying does not work on demand. Well, recognizing Saul through his makeup, one of the witches improvises by grabbing the closest inanimate object that she could, which happened to be a wine flask, and began making it speak. Saul, being that he was very superstitious and battle-weary, believed this to be the work of evil spirits and sorcery. But we all know it to be the wiggling of the bottle and the throwing of one's voice. This was the birth of ventriloquism. That's right. So, vengeful for having been put on the spot, the witch then goes on to tell Saul, of course through the bottle, that his armies would fall and that he and his sons would be cast into the abode of the dead. And guess what? She was right. Next battle, Saul's armies were defeated, and as a direct result, he committed suicide. King Saul 0, Witches of Endor 1. And this story only quickened the gut feeling that I had many Christmases ago. Ventriloquism will betray you. It will. November 1985, I was sitting on my grandparents' living room floor, snacking on a plate of Ritz crackers and sipping ginger ale. My parents were talking politics and books with my granny and pop while I perused the middle section of the holy tome that was known as the Sears Catalog Wish Book. I scanned each page carefully, not knowing exactly what I was looking for. You see, I had thought that I was outgrowing my stuffed animals that I called my dear friends. I had yet to bridge my adolescence with wish list items that were more age appropriate for a child growing up in the deep south, such as camouflage tents or duck boots or a .22 rifle. You see, I was a budding 7-year-old artist in a 9-year-old's body. Somewhere between the Cabbage Patch Dolls and the GoBots, something caught my eye. The call-out was huge. Can you say it's howdy doody time without moving your lips? I sure could. You bet I could. Maybe this is the thing that I was looking for, so I read on. Everyone loves a ventriloquist. Pick your favorite character and become the life of the party. Instruction booklet included. Well, later on, I would question my desire for this particularly odd gift. I remember through my muffled bedroom, my parents' bedroom door, I could hear my dad. He had so many interesting questions for my mom about my wish list item. And I also remember my mom in the verbal melee in the defense of me wanting to express myself creatively. Well, the thing with this, any child, even one that was 9, knew the best place to direct these questions was the responsible party, Sears. Dear Sears, why are you selling Charlie McCarthy dolls to the children of the 80s? Well, market research shows that the children of the 80s love vaudeville characters as much as their grandparents do. Not true. So, Christmas morning, 6 a.m., I run down the stairs, I wake my parents, I make quick work of the wrapping paper that is keeping me from my new gifts. And then I recognize a long rectangular box that had to hold my new, more mature friend. I slowly open the box to savor this very important moment. And when the flap is down, I see it. It is a vinyl-headed, dead-eyed body laying neatly in its own cardboard coffin. I feel immediately that I have betrayed my worn and familiar friends, my stuffed friends who are waiting for me loyally on my bedspread. I gingerly take the flap and then put the heavy box behind me on the floor. And although there is a smile placed on my face, my true feelings are still handsomely wrapped in paper and sealed with Scotch tape. I thank my parents. They go back to bed, and I go to my room to play with my new toys. And as I do, I sit on the rug, cross-legged, and I fan out each one of my new presents from left to right in order of appreciation. The new box had not made the spread. Well, curiosity finally bested me, and I unboxed the dummy. And if The blank stare from the painted eyes hadn't clued me in as to why I felt so queasy. Well, then guess what? The blonde hair should have. You see, all of my family that was coming over that afternoon for our traditional Christmas lasagna lunch had dark hair, or at least one point in their life had dark hair. This devil doll with the yellow head was some sort of Rolf-type character from The Sound of Music. He may have been in love with Liesel, but he was fated to betray the entire Von Trapp family. And I tell you this, one good thing about stuffed animals is that their fur color had never been a point of derision. I always carefully named each one of my stuffed beings. There was Cubby, Kinderly, Mookie. They had all become a part of this larger adoptive network. And although we may not have been related, by God, we were family. And I tell you this new imposter would not be getting a name, for he would not be staying. And even though this hinge-mouth, oversized abomination actually made me feel physically ill, my family would be here soon and they would want a performance. I had to practice. So I pulled the figure close to me, slid my arm into the cadaver, and then began speaking through clenched teeth. Family arrived, lasagna was eaten, Manischewitz was imbibed, and then the time had come. I went and I brought out the figure reluctantly. I tried on a new voice, and then I realized while I was holding this new toy that it mirrored the feelings that I had, the uneasiness that I had about letting go of my childhood things. I then took the figure, the body, and I snuck it into an opaque garbage bag with the ripped wrapping paper and the ribbons and the other unused boxes. And I know my dad didn't see me do this, but if he had, he would have been politely silent. And I spent at least one more year playing with my stuffed animals before they made their short journey into the attic. And perhaps all children who are given ventriloquist dummies for gifts are destined to sneak them into the garbage can where their parents aren't looking. And maybe, just maybe, Sears is obligated to sell these antiquated toys because of an ancient contract between their corporate shareholders and the witches of Endor. Nevertheless, next time you are home for the holidays, after the presents have been opened, the lasagna eaten, and the wine drunk, if it is possible, make your way to the attic, find your old stuffed animals, look at them directly in their cute button eyes, and thank them for standing beside you on your path to growing up. Thank you.